Hello everybody, this is David Campbell from HassleFreeCashFlowInvesting.com, and I am joined today by my friend and colleague from Omnikey Realty, owner of the business, Leah Slaughter. And she is a fantastic property manager and real estate broker that is fantastic at representing buyers of investment property, and she really understands the hassle-free model. She understands what our clients are looking for in the Dallas-Fort Worth metro and understands the importance of cash flow and all of the great philosophies behind hassle-free cash flow investing that set our clients up for success. So Leah, welcome to the program today.
Thanks so much, David, for having me.
So Leah, I am excited that we are able to present some new investment strategies on this call today through 1031 exchange and how to optimize someone's equity and to really grow their portfolio at a more rapid pace than if they were just to sit back and not really churn their portfolio, but to harvest their equity and get their equity working for them more aggressively. And I'm really happy that you've got some specific case studies to look at. And so people on the call today, if you do see something that you're interested in, today's call is educational in nature, but it's also a call to action. So if someone sees a property that you're interested in, please do take note that there are some investment opportunities that look very much like the properties we're looking at today that are available for immediate purchase. And so we can talk later today about how to get access to that inventory. So Leah, take it away.
Absolutely. So the first thing I have to mention to everybody is this is not an attempt to solicit anyone currently represented by a real estate broker. We are a real estate brokerage, and we offer not only property management, but really assistance through the entire piece of this transaction, from starting with acquiring investment property to the management of that investment to protect it for the eventual sale, and then the end sale goal there. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about how that works and how a company like me makes that happen for you. But if you are currently working with a broker, and we certainly can help guide you and talk to you, but not if you're under contract with somebody else. Beyond that, of course, everything we talk about here are estimates. Nothing's a guarantee of any type of return, and all real estate is subject to risks, and we do the best we can to guide you and provide you with the most information to make an educated decision. But we are all doing our best to understand the market and the trends that we foresee coming and changing. And of course, none of us know everything. So just know that everything we talk about here is opinion, and we will do everything we can to make these numbers happen for you. So the first thing that I want to go through is talking about the different properties that we're talking about here. So our model is a little bit different. We are not a turnkey provider. And what I mean by that is we don't have ownership stake in the properties that we help you acquire. And so the properties that we're talking about today, our capacity in these transactions is a buyer agent. So just like if you were to go purchase a property to live in, we are helping you buy a property that's an investment property instead of an owner-occupied property, and we are paid by the seller. So there's no fee for us to help you. We are not making a profit from ownership or stake or anything in these properties. We are merely connecting you with the representatives and the companies that we trust and we know, who about 95% of our inventory is exclusive to us. And so these are off-market properties you would not have access to otherwise. We work with single-family, multifamily, commercial property, but our bread and butter and the majority of what we sell from our investment list is about 95% new construction. The benefits of new construction are, of course, you're going to get a warranty from the builder. You also, that first year, most of the time the tax value is not reassessed unless construction is done by January 1st. And so that means that first year you're going to get a lower tax bill because it's on land value only. So most of these are going to have a tax bill the first year of about $7 a month. And for those of you that are familiar with Texas, property taxes can be pretty hefty. And so it's a great savings that first year. The other benefits of new construction is, of course, that you've got this builder warranty in place and this new construction, so your systems have not failed yet. And so the cost of ownership fits perfectly within the hassle-free model, because we're not going to be dealing with all of these failing systems because the systems are new. And because of our model with the 2 to 4 year flip, and we're going to talk about how that works and how that looks a little bit later in this, the way that we do things is you're not holding these homes long enough for the major systems to fail. So although, anything is possible, that's why we make sure these warranties are in place. And then, of course, during our management, which if you've watched any of my other videos, we do quarterly visits, that we're checking on these properties, making sure the tenants are maintaining them and putting all of that back on them, so that when it's time to sell this property or it's time to do whatever you decide to do with it, it's in a great condition where we can do that while the occupant is still there, so we're avoiding vacancy. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in depth later, but the first thing I want to do is show you some of the available property options we have today. Now, what happens when you work with us? Oh, go ahead, David.
Yeah, so Leah, a lot of our clients are very familiar with the benefits of new construction, and I'm so happy that you share that investment philosophy, which makes one of the amazing things about our teamwork together. But I think it's obvious to you, but I want to highlight to our clients one of the huge benefits of working with Leah and her company is not only are they going to do a great job representing you in the purchase, their end goal is management. And people who've been following hassle-free cash flow investing for a while know that I like to say you start out in a marketplace with the property manager and you ask the property manager, what do you want to manage? Because so many people say, hey, I have this ugly dog here, property manager, do you want to manage it? And they might take on the business because they need the business, but they might not want to. And so as a property manager who's going to be with you far beyond the sale, number one, they're going to be more genuine about what the financial performance is going to look like. Because if they say, hey, it's going to rent for this, and then you close the sale and it doesn't rent for that, the broker who sold it to you is gone, and then there's no real fallout for that broker who said it was going to rent for more than it did. But the property manager who says, I think it's going to rent for this, and then if their estimate was far short, well, that's damaging to the property management relationship. So a property manager wouldn't do that, right? The property manager is going to give you a very genuine and more educated estimate of how that property is going to perform. And again, that's an estimate. Things change, and you don't know till you're actually facing that property with the market place. But I love that Omnikey is not only helping you with the acquisition, but they're helping you with the management. And I think that is a huge value proposition that I don't want our clients to look past.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we do uniquely, my husband and I, we're family owned and operated, and we are buying in these areas along with our investors. So pretty much everything I'm presenting to you today, I've bought from these builders in these areas and own properties in the same streets, the same subdivisions, the same cities. And so we obviously believe in the product, and it's a product that we're confident is going to serve this purpose for this long-term goal of doubling our portfolio every few years. And so this property is a great example. This is in Denison, Texas, and Denison and Sherman are twin cities to the north of Collin County. And for those of you that know our area, Collin County is where all of the major employers have relocated. Plano and McKinney are kind of your two seats of Collin County. So of course that's where Toyota and Liberty Mutual and State Farm and all these big employers have come in. So what we've done is we've looked at the path of growth and how the main city is so overdeveloped and so overpriced at this point. And we've said, well, what is the next area out that people can still get to the city and benefit from these employers, but also have their own employment base, and we can get properties that are fully upgraded and brand new for prices where if and when the market softens, there's just not that far for them to fall. And so Denison and Sherman is one of these areas. And I started selling these areas talking about the potential for employers to go up there many years ago. And it's really happened. We saw in December that Finisar announced a $380 million grant for Face ID technology from Apple to come and open a plant in Sherman, which is, it's its own kind of city center, older town, has a great liberal arts college there. And it was not on anybody's radar except for us. And so this is an area I'm a strong believer in. I personally own many properties out here. And it's an area that I foresee more and more employers moving to. It's close enough to get to the city. It's only about a 35 minute drive to McKinney, but it's its own area with its own employment base. You've got Tyson Foods, Texas Instruments, now Finisar, lots of employment up there too. And historically, what we've seen is they've only built out into the center of the city, far away from the highway. Well, what we're doing is we're saying, well, no, we don't want to do that. We want to have development near the highway. We're going to infill into some of the older neighborhoods and the land that's left over and have these properties where the world is their oyster. They can live and work in the city. They can go to the Oklahoma border, which is 5 minutes away, or they can come down to McKinney or Plano and get there. It's still a shorter commute than most of the country drives. So it's really the best of all worlds, and we're still sub 150,000. So it's a pretty incredible opportunity. So this here is one that we just sold, and this price on this particular property was a little bit under 140,000. And right now we've got, so my investment list features about 22 builders across 17 cities as of today. I've got about 64 properties available as of this morning, so I have plenty of inventory, and we always make sure we have plenty of inventory because of the 1031 exchanges that we work. We got to make sure, of course, we can help you identify in plenty of time. So I've got 3 available that are almost identical to the property that's here, and they are in construction as we speak. The purchase price is $144,300. Now, we have all of our builders make our properties ready to go. And what I mean by that is we're going to include all of the upgrades you need to make it easy maintenance. So the wood or tile vinyl flooring, hard flooring in all main areas, ceiling fans in the bedrooms and living areas, blinds in the property, granite in all your main areas, fantastic finish out. Going to include a fence with metal posts on the property, sod in the backyard. So as you can see, these are ready to go. So essentially all you do is you close, we rekey it and bring it to Texas rental code, and we put a tenant in. So there is no extra expense out of pocket for you. That allows for a few things. Number one, of course, is the best cash on cash return because you put in as little cash into the deal as possible. But also it's going to be hassle-free because we're not having to deal with so many of the things that can come up when you're dealing with pre-owned or recently renovated homes. There's obviously a place for turnkey providers where they come in and do the major rehabs and all those things, but there's always things that are missed or things that just weren't done and maybe didn't need to be done at that time. But the benefits of new construction are so numerous, especially for that hassle-free model. So this is pictures of one that we just closed. It's a beautiful property, and you can see big backyards. It's one of the benefits of going out to some of the suburbs that are just outside the main area, and it's why they do so well. So this one's in Denison. This is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Now, if we look at the next area, this neighborhood I actually bought 2 myself in the last year. I love the area, and I'm closing on a 3rd one on Monday. So I'm a big believer out here. I've got different models from these builders. I've got 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1-car garage, and then 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage like the one you see here. And then I also have 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage. The prices range anywhere from $138,500 up to $190,000 depending on the square footage of what you pick. This particular property is just about 1,600 square feet, so great size, 2-car attached garage. Rents are $1,375 to $1,425, and you can see the finish out here is incredible. Wood tile floors throughout, again, the ceiling fans, blinds are included by the builder, covered patios, open floor plans, custom showers, everything that you and I would want if we were looking for a home to live in. Now, Greenville is actually due east of McKinney, again, the next county over from Collin County, and they have major employers there too. So another developed city where we're coming in and building it as the area is growing. Now, the interesting thing about Greenville is they have L3 Technology, huge government defense contractor, and they're in the middle of a lot of hiring right now. But the majority of the building that's been going on in Greenville has been down south in Greenville off I-30, which that's the highway that feeds into downtown Dallas. And for those of you watching Dallas-Fort Worth, you know pretty much all the employers are coming up north into the suburbs. So what we've done is we've developed these new construction properties with our builder partners, and they're off 380 to the north with the direct access into McKinney. So it's something new that hasn't been there before. It's in infill areas again. We've taken pieces of land and turned them into small neighborhoods, neighboring other neighborhoods, and then also doing infill lots in the middle of older neighborhoods where there was land left over. And so it's just this easy access to get into the city, but you still have a city with major employers where people can live and work. And so it's another great opportunity of these types of properties we're talking about for that hassle-free lifestyle.
This is a lot of property. For $100 a square foot, you get a lot of sticks and bricks. Like, this is some very quality stuff here for $100 a square foot, or to be able to get new construction with this level of finish in a major metro with this price is pretty extraordinary. And so, ideally, we would be looking at rent to purchase price ratios that are a little bit more favorable, but they don't exist in this part of the market cycle. Like a lot of the things that my clients might be used to looking at would be $165 purchase price and $1,500 rent, which is awesome, but it just doesn't exist anymore, right? The market changed, and so
the areas you're going to get that in don't have appreciation. So one of the pulls of Dallas, Fort Worth, and Texas in general is that we not only have cash flow, we also have appreciation. The other thing that I'll tell you is we're very conservative with our numbers. I always want to, under promise and over deliver. And so I'm not going to sit here and tell you I can get 1,500. I can tell you that this one that this photo of is my property, and mine is almost 100 square feet smaller than the ones we have right now, and I got 1,425. So some of my numbers may be low, but I would much rather give you realistic numbers to expect and have the appreciation to back it up to make the overall return better than you're going to get anywhere else with a better and safer investment. So it's Texas offers unique, and we're going to talk about how the appreciation works and how it makes the investment double the profit in just a little bit, but it's a piece that so many people overlook. I can't tell you how many people call me that they've bought in markets where they may get the house for 140 and it rents for 1350, but they're older homes, they're in more rundown areas, and the prices are stagnant. And so if the market falls at all, you have no protection, you have no ability to build your portfolio, you're just sitting. And unfortunately, you know, prices and values and things can fluctuate and expenses can go up, but if your value is not going up to support that, then it actually becomes a worse investment every year.
Yeah, and the cash flow is, my clients know, is hugely important, but every person who's gotten rich in real estate, they always tell the story, well, I bought it for $165 and I sold it for $300,000 a decade later. Like, well, what about the cash flow, Mr. Investor? I thought you said the cash flow was the most important thing. Oh yeah, well, by the way, my tenant paid the mortgage along the way. But did I tell you, it doubled in value over 10 years, right? So the equity growth is where people really make their wealth in real estate. It's the cash flow that allows you to control mortgages to allow you to buy more properties than just paying cash. And so that cash flow is hugely important because it allows you to debt service. It allows you to create, cover the operating expenses. But, you know, according to Leah's strategy, it's the equity growth that really creates the wealth in real estate. And particularly when you look at your strategy as it interfaces with where the market is right now, right? I would much rather have a property for $165,000 that rents for $1,425 a month that was in a area poised for growth and has new construction and awesome property management support behind it, rather than buying something old and junky in a neighborhood that's not going to grow, where I have that classic, 100 to 1 rent to purchase price ratio, right? So this investment philosophy or this strategy, you have to look at, does your strategy match where we are in the market cycle? And that's why I'm really excited about these homes that Leah is presenting.
That's right. And if we were to go into the city and look at similar homes, we'd be talking about adding an extra 100,000, 200,000 on top of these prices for not much more rent than we're getting out here in these suburbs. So, there's a benefit to being in Dallas-Fort Worth. We are the job capital of the U.S. right now. And I think there's a unique protection to us because of how many new people are moving here and our extreme level housing shortage. And so, you have to look and know your markets and know what you're walking into. And for me, we service all of Texas. We manage and have offices all over the state, but my entire investment portfolio resides in DFW, and there's a reason for that. So this right here is the smaller floor plan I mentioned, the 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1-car garage. I also own one of this floor plan, and you can see here, price is wonderful. Now, the ones we're selling now, we change the floor plan every few sales. So this particular development has 3 different builders in there, and most of them are targeting owner occupants. We work with only one of the 3 builders so that we don't want to oversaturate more than we have to. And this particular builder changes up the floor plans every few we sell so that you don't have the same thing over and over and over. So the one that I'm presenting here is about 100 square feet larger than mine. This is about 1,400 and some change square feet. Price is $149,900. And again, same excellent level finish out with incredible quality. And you'll see the custom tile in the bathrooms, the granite countertops, the tile wood flooring, the big Texas-sized backyard with the covered patios, everything that we're looking for. And really, it's exactly the type of investment that you want to see and that you want to rent and that eventually people want to buy. And of course, that's what makes this whole thing go around. Now, let's talk about a little bit different areas. So we talked about Denison, which is right on the cusp of Sherman, where Finisar came in. Well, here's actually in the city of Sherman where all this development is happening. And this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage. These are currently in construction. So the estimated rents are probably going to see around $1,525, might list a little bit higher. This is on the west side of Sherman, which is pretty impossible to get into. The only properties I have on the west side of Sherman that are this size are currently selling pre-owned for over $200,000. So this is really an incredible opportunity. This is the first time I've had access to this type of property on the west side in 3 years. And so all of that said, you can see how the tax rate out here is still much lower than a lot of the areas you see in Dallas-Fort Worth. The insurance cost is extremely reasonable, and this is a top quality builder. And so there's only going to be a few of these, so these will go very quickly. So we've just added these to our list, and I think that they're going to be an incredible opportunity because they are being built in the middle of an existing neighborhood that's a few years old, with homes that are identical with stone fronts and roof finish out. And so you're literally getting the feel of a neighborhood and look of a neighborhood right by the highway, right by all the stores and the shopping, but you're getting it for a fraction of the price and with no HOA, which is huge. Nothing that we do in these major cities is HOA. Now, this is another great neighborhood example. It's not an infill, it's the middle of a big box neighborhood, but again, no HOA. I actually just did one of these with y'all's clients, and we got 1% on our rent at least in 48 hours.
Nice.
So it really did fantastic. I got that application, and a great quality tenant went in there. And so this is an amazing opportunity. This city is right on the cusp of where the south side of Dallas County ends and Ellis County begins. So we like to stay out of the trouble area of Dallas County. The prices have gotten so high. We've seen appreciation rates in some cities of 30%. So when I say we are well overvalued in these areas for what they are, I mean it. You've got crime through the roof, police departments in shambles. And so we avoid Dallas County like the plague unless we're looking at multifamily. And so we want to be as close into the city as we can be to get all the benefits of the city without all the negatives. And so that's what Ferris offers here. And so these range anywhere from $195,000 to $210,000, and they're either a 3-bed or a 4-bed home with 2-bath, 2-car garage. And the rents on these are anywhere from $1,900 to $2,100. And again, you'll see the incredible finish out, the granite countertops, the tall ceilings, the ceiling fans, all these upgrades we're talking about. And you know, when you have these upgrades, it's such an easy thing for tenants to maintain. And you don't realize how when you have lower quality products like cheap countertops and cheap flooring in your main areas, that it's so easy for tenants to damage. And so by having these solid surface floors like tile or wood, especially in your wet areas, it makes a huge difference for your cost of ownership too, and it makes it easier for us when we go to do the sale on the back end. Mm-hmm. And so these are fantastic. I've got
You just blew my mind, Leah. We were looking at $210,000 in rent for $2,100 a month. That's the 1% rule. Gorgeous home, great neighborhood. I'm familiar with Ferris and how conveniently located that is to the metro. Things like this should be snapped up fast. I mean, stuff like this is a rare opportunity, particularly in this market cycle. So gosh, anytime a client would see something where you can get this 100-to-1 rule and in a good neighborhood and new construction and with good management, that's a no-brainer. Like, just sign me up.
And this particular builder builds from the ground up. So the only negative to this particular project is it's a 6-month build. So for 1031 exchanges, it's not an option. But for those clients that are ready to sign something now and maybe have a 1031 exchange about to close, that can start that timeline now, or that just have cash they're looking to use, this is a fantastic opportunity with an incredible return.
Yeah, and you know what's nice? We're going to talk about 1031 exchange a little bit later, but if someone really does want this product, but it doesn't fit within their 6-month 1031 exchange, as the seller of a property in a hot market like we're in, you might be able to control the exit sale of your property. So typically people would sell their property and then go look for a home to buy. But if you know that you've got a 6-month lead time in building a home, you might contract to buy a property like this and then go sell the property that you're 1031ing, particularly if you're working both ends of the deal through Leah, and she can coordinate both the sales side of your Dallas property and the reinvestment of that money into a property like this. I think it's, there's definitely some strategies. If you see a property that you love, but you need to sell something to buy it, definitely it's worth having that conversation, how you get that done.
Exactly. And so one of the things that we offer in-house is we have this full service property management firm, a full investment sales team to help you acquire the property, and a full sales team that helps you sell out of the property. So at every step of this transaction, we're here to handhold you and guide you and make sure that you're with the best of the best. And I mentioned earlier, we're family owned and operated. So I've got a team of 36. And so we're corporate sized, and For everything we do, it's very, very much the opportunities and the benefits of this large firm, but this feeling of that family-owned business. And so every owner has my cell phone, every owner knows me personally, and we're personally vested in every deal we do. So, it's amazing to be able to offer that to clients and to be able to utilize it for my own investment acquisitions as well. And so it's something that I'm blessed to be able to do, and I love it, and I'm extremely passionate about it, as you know, David. And it's just we're riding this market for as long as we can. And so this next thing I'm going to talk about is how riding this market is going to let you double that portfolio every 2 to 4 years. So a 1031 exchange is something that is so underused. Your big investors, the real wealthy, they know all about these things. But so many of the mom and pop investors that I deal with just don't really understand. They think it's this difficult and time consuming and expensive process. And what I try to explain to people is it's so easy to do. And I see so many investors who come to me and bring me the information on their portfolio and go, what can you do to make me more successful? I had one sit in my office this morning who brought me information on 6 homes he owns here in Dallas-Fort Worth that he wants us to take over and kind of help him through this process. And he's sitting on $925,000 in equity in 6 properties. And with just those properties, we could turn that overnight with a 1031 exchange into 25 using leveraging. Awesome. And it's an amazing thing to be able to show someone how you can go from 6 homes that are barely cash flowing to 25 that are not only cash flowing, but also appreciating. And that appreciation is the key. So we're going to make some assumptions for the numbers that we're going to talk through. And these assumptions are going to be based.
Leah has some amazing financing options available that are local lenders that you might not have access to or might not know about if you're an investor out of the area. So the idea of exchanging into 25 homes all at once and rapid acquisition and over 10 Fannie Freddie loans, those are all issues that Leah is definitely aware of and has financing solutions to work around. And that's another awesome benefit of working in the Dallas Metro is lenders there really are friendly to investors and want to attract investors to borrow. And so Leah can help you not only with the acquisition and the 1031 exchange, but also identify some very unique financing sources.
Right. So we work with companies that are like-minded. And so we want to make the whole process as easy as possible. Of course, the whole hassle-free model is making it as easy as we can. And so we've got great lenders we work with, and the terms that you're going to see on the people that I put you with after your 10th mortgage when you're outside of Fannie guidelines will be almost identical and mirroring of your Fannie Mae. And so it's really incredible, these people that we partner with, and we help handhold you through every step. And once you're set up and you get the information to them up front, they've got everything for moving forward. And all you'll have to do as you close additional properties is update your bank statements and your income information. So it's just a really streamlined process. The upfront approval takes about 24, 48 hours. And from there, it's smooth sailing. And we've got options for those that are foreign nationals. We've got options for people that don't have great income but have amazing assets. We've really seen the gambit. And so you can, do it in your LLC, you can do it in your personal name, whatever it is you need, we've got a solution for it. So let's talk through how some of these numbers work. So the assumption we're going to make is that you either own or you buy a property worth $140,000, and you've either put down 20% or you have 20% equity. So you've got a loan for $112,000 and you've got $28,000 equity when we start. Now, let's talk about how Dallas's appreciation and North Texas's appreciation is going to make this return for you just by owning the property. So we're going to look at a 4-year plan on this next slide. And what it's going to go through is what the value is at the end of each year as we move forward through your ownership. So historically, right now, we're seeing about 10% average appreciation. So for this slide here, I'm assuming that by 2020, 2021, our supply is going to start to catch up and the market's going to soften some. So you'll see at the end of year 1, you've turned that $28,000 to $40,600 with that 9% appreciation. Year 2, you're at $54,000. Year 3, we've dropped to 5% appreciation, which may or may not happen. We'll have to see. You're now at $69,000, and year 4, you're at $78,000. So now let's take those numbers from the historical numbers we've been seeing and see what that means for you after you've owned said property for 36 months. So the next slide is going to tell us what we can do with that money. So you purchased $240,000 properties now In place of this one through a 1031 exchange, you're going to need about $56,000 plus closing costs of the sale and the purchase. At the end of year 3, you've got $69,000 in projected equity. Now, this does not take into consideration your equity pay down from your principal payments on your mortgage, nor your cash flow. So by the end of year 3, you already have enough property to turn one property into two with little to no extra cash expenditure, which basically means that by buying a property here in our current market, in 3 years, that one property is going to turn into two, and you don't have to put another penny in. But you've still been collecting that principal pay down and your profit every month on your cash flow. And this is why the 1031 exchange is so important. So let's go on to the next slide. And one more. And I'm going to show you what happens if the market falls right now. So let's keep the same assumption. So we still have the same property, same equity, and the same loan. But let's assume a reduced growth trend. And let's assume that maybe something happens overseas or something happens in the stock market and the market starts to drop a little bit. So we're not seeing 9% now, we're seeing reduced appreciation. Now, I don't think the odds of this are high. Dallas is an amazing market right now, and there are so many jobs coming here that there's only so much that can affect us. Right now, there's still a huge housing shortage, but let's assume the market starts to fall. And this year, we only see 5%. So if you look at these numbers from year 1 all the way down to year 6, you'll see that at the end of year 5, we're at 56, almost 57,000. And at the end of year 6, and we've cut down to 3% by year 3, we're still already up to $61,000 in equity. So even looking at the reduced figures, when we talk about what we can do with this money after we've seen the 6-year appreciation on this next slide, it's going to tell you that even if the market falls, even if the market slows, we can still afford to go back and double that portfolio. So we still are going to be in a position in 5 years where we can go and turn this one into two, even if the market is not the same strong market it is right now.
So a lot of people ask me about market conditions and like, David, you know, it's the seller's market. Why do you want to buy in such a hot market? And, you know, there's a couple things, right? One, interest rates are historically low. Even though they're creeping up, they're low. So you want to take advantage of those low interest rates now. In the last recession, you know, in 2008 and 9, I owned property in Northern California that went down 70% in value. And the property that I owned in Dallas went down 10% at the same time. And that's a hugely difference. Like the recession in the DFW market in the last Great Recession, you hardly noticed it, right? In fact, if you're going to hold property through a recession in Dallas, it's actually a good thing, because when the property price goes down, your property taxes go down, which means your cash flow goes up, right? So in a recession, if property price only matters if you're selling or refinancing, and so if prices are declining and you're not going to sell or refinance, you should celebrate better cash flow, right? Because your tax expenditure is going to go down. And so the other thing to look at is, you know, appreciation means more people are going to want to own that product, but we also have inflation. And a lot of talk about the rising interest rates have to do with concerns about significant inflation. The stock market's gone crazy. You know, the government's printed a ridiculous amount of money over the last decade or so, and all of the bullishness in the economy is driving the prices of everything up, such that the Federal Reserve wants to raise rates to slow down inflation. And so Leah's numbers at 3 to 5% appreciation are basically fundamentally just rates of inflation, right? As long as the property keeps pace with the rate of inflation, 3 to 5%, you're going to be hitting these numbers. So it's pretty awesome. As long as you've got cash flow to sustain your investment, you can weather, you know, through multiple market cycles.
Exactly. And, you know, the thing that I tell people is we put you in these outlying growing areas because even if and when the market falls, they still are on that path of growth right outside of the employers. They still have to grow even when the market falls. And by getting these upgraded homes for $140,000, $150,000, there's only so far they can fall. And investors who are being guided to go buy these $300,000 and $400,000 homes in Allen and Plano that are 40 years old, they've got a long way to fall. That's why we don't do those. That's why we don't sell those.
Yeah.
A lot of the people that I work with do sell those. And those are the ones that scare me. And so that's why I choose in my portfolio not to buy those types of properties. And that's why even if someone asks me to help them buy that as an investment, my answer is no. I had someone ask me yesterday, and if I don't believe in the investment and I don't believe it's going to be as safe as can be in a market that falls, then I don't think it's an investment that I should sell. And I held true to that in many areas when the last recession hit. And there are many parts of the city I refused to sell, and those are the areas that got hit in the double digits. And so it's very much about selling what you believe in and buying what you believe in, and also buying in an area that offers something unique, like the growth, like the employers, like the better quality homes at a lower price. And so it's, it's this fine line between wanting to buy this good market against a bad one.
Yeah, and then also, many people know I started a home building company in 2008, and during the Great Recession, my home building company built about 1% of all the starter homes in Dallas. And what I am seeing over the last decade of building houses, I got out of that business because construction costs have gone up so much so fast. And so I'm looking at these homes, that you're offering at $100 a square foot or, $140,000 per unit. And I think, how can anyone possibly build a home and make a profit and sell it for $140,000? Like
No, it's true. The cost to build has just gone through the roof. And, sourcing people to build is even harder. The market's so hot. The housing shortage is so large that there's so many people trying to build to catch up, that even the people that are working in these homes, that some of the builders that I run across, they're hiring people that aren't even legal to work, and they're still paying them $18 an hour. It's really incredible what's going on here. And so I don't know how they're affording to do it either, but I don't ask those questions. I just, have them build them.
Yeah. Well, the amazing thing is replacement cost is an important factor for an investor who's looking at new construction, because if you can't build it for the current sales price, then that's going to be a constrictor on new supply, right? And so I like that. And when I'm a prospective investor looking at this inventory, thinking there's not a lot of fat in this for the builder. And as a buyer, I like that, right? As a developer, I don't like that. That's why I got out of that business and focused, much more on private lending and brokerage, et cetera. But when somebody is looking at buying something for $150,000, knowing that it probably costs, $145,000 to basically you're buying it pretty close to replacement costs. Like the people who are building these homes are currently building them for a job, in my opinion, right? They just own a job rather than trying to make big profit on new construction at these prices, which is good. It's a restriction on supply.
And a lot of the builders that we work with are predominantly commercial builders, and they build these as a hobby and as trying to develop full subdivisions and neighborhoods. And so they'll build a few here or there that lots they come across and they sell to me, but then they build their 200 property subdivisions, and we buy a portion of those too. So it's a lot of you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, and the connections that come into play with working with me. And so there's a reason that these are off market. There's a reason that you can't go on the MLS and find most of these, because it's relationships that I've spent the last 12 years in business developing. And so it's I'm glad that I still have these connections in a hot market, and I'm glad that they're reasonable on their prices. They know, and I know, they could get more if they put them on the open market. But the ease that my clients and your clients bring, and the great feel of the relationship and future business and all those things, there's a value to that I think a lot of people just don't appreciate like we should.
Yeah, and it's a builder who sold primarily to investors. I get the value of selling to investors at a discount, because when you're working with a homeowner and they say, well, let's talk about which color beige I want to paint my house, I just want to hit my head against a wall and say, it doesn't matter, it's beige, right? And
yeah.
so
it's true. The new builder last week that came in, he's like, okay, so when do you want to do your color picks? And I sat and looked at him and I said, no, I don't think you understand. That's not how we operate. You bring me 3 color patterns and alternate the houses and we're good to go. And he was so excited because it's just, there's an ease to it. It's easy for him and it's easy for us.
Yeah. Yep. And there's an efficiency. When I was building houses, every single home had Sibelius beige was the interior color, and that's the name of my company. And that way, it was easy, for just planning. We could buy that product in bulk, and then we didn't ever have to say, well, we ran out of paint, let's go get more paint. Like, no, it was the same. And every carpet color, the same. Every flooring, the same. All the exteriors were different, but all the interiors, there's a great economy of scale in making them all high quality, but the same. And then investors didn't care, right? They just want something that's going to rent well. The tenants don't care. They just want it pretty. They don't care which color of carpet it is. They just want good color, like good quality carpet.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly.
Yep.
So the last thing I want to talk about is why you should not hold the property. So we've already talked about the appreciation and all this, but how does it actually affect your bottom line? Why in a market like this would you still want to do this process instead of holding on? And this is why. So Dallas Morning News, which is our main newspaper here, tracked 48 neighborhoods. If you'll go on to the next slide, it's got a thing I want to show. So they tracked 48 neighborhoods, and based on those 48 neighborhoods they tracked, the home prices rose an average of 10%. It's a huge amount of appreciation. What did rent rates do? 3 to 4%. And so what happens is every year as you sit on these homes, so a lot of our clients, they have properties in Dallas, and a lot of your clients calling me, they bought these great houses from you, but they've been sitting on them. And so what's happened is these properties have gone up in value, their expenses have gone up, but the rents haven't gone up as much. And so what happens is every year you're going to lose about 7% of your profit because of the sheer fact that the value's gone up 10, but your rent's only gone up maybe 3. Your taxes have gone up 10%, but your rent's only gone up 3. And now what we're seeing is the cost to build, as you mentioned, is more than what these properties are selling for. And so you're having to insure, and these insurance companies are insuring it over what they're actually really worth. And so the costs are so astronomical. So you're sitting on all this equity, so your cash on cash return has already dropped because you have more equity in the deal than what you started with, but you also are getting a higher price point on all of your expenses, but not that much more on your rents. And this is why utilizing 1031 exchanges every few years is a way to double your portfolio and also make your returns continue to stay high and go up. And it's something that I think a lot of investors don't realize because they just think, oh, my value's gone up, that's great, let me sit and let it keep going up. But they don't realize that the rents don't keep going up at the same rate. So you may have a house that's gone up to $250,000, but it's not renting for $2,500, and that's where that disparity comes into play.
Yep, and I like your idea of optimizing your equity, because as the more, like the slide says, as your equity goes up, your cash on cash return goes down. And some of my clients say, hey, David, I bought a home from you for $160,000 and it's renting for $1,600, and that's a great 100-to-1 ratio. Why would I buy something that wasn't that 100-to-1 ratio? And I'm like, well, you bought it for $160, but now it's worth $200. So it isn't a 100-to-1 ratio anymore, right? It's still rented for $1,600 a month, but now it's worth $200,000. You don't look at what you bought it for in the current rent. You look at with the current value in the current rent, right? And as you were saying, Leah, that those rents haven't kept up with the values. And so if you can harvest that equity, some investors harvest that equity through refinance, which is a viable strategy, and other investors harvest it through 1031 exchange, which is also a viable strategy as well.
No, absolutely. The negative to the refinance piece is you're still sitting on that disparity between the rent and the asset value. But on the token, some people don't want to buy in this market. And so, whatever you do, the thing that I want to make sure people know is you can't look at what you bought it for 10 years ago. You have to look at what it's worth today and what you're getting today. And the individual who sat in front of me this morning had no idea how much money he was losing just having sat on those properties for the last 4.5 years. And so it's an incredible thing to get to let someone see what your inventory you already own can do for you when you actually utilize it.
Yep. Awesome. So Leah, what is the path forward? Somebody made it this far in the program. They're clearly interested in expanding their portfolio. They're clearly interested in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metro, which is one of my #1 favorite real estate markets to invest in. How do they move forward with your company and get access to your proprietary off-market inventory?
Absolutely. So once they reach out to you, then their information gets sent to me. And at that point, I send over our welcome information as well as our NDA, or our non-disclosure agreement and representation agreement. And that agreement works for the properties that I send and the connections that I make. And it basically just says that if you're going to work with any of these people or these properties, you have to go through me. And once you send that back, it's all done in DocuSign, just a few clicks of the mouse. Then we send access to our entire investment access list, which has information on the cities, all of our referral people that we recommend, the available properties, information on the available properties. And then, of course, in all that information, you'll also get all of my contact information, including, again, my personal cell phone. So it's really the first step is to reach out to you, David. And then from there, you're going to have the hand-holding experience. We're going to look at exactly what you own, if you own anything that we need to look at, and see what your options are. And then from there, I'm going to hear about what your goals are, what your concerns are, what your 10-year plan is, and then I will guide you and make recommendations on what I think is the best path. And ultimately, of course, the choice is yours, and we will make happen whatever it is you want to happen.
Awesome. And so Omnikey is a gigantic company, one of the largest, if not the largest, residential property manager or single-family home property manager in the metro. And you've got an awesome reputation, and it's fantastic to have direct access with the owner of the company. And in full disclosure, everyone knows that Leah's company is going to earn a buyer-broker fee when you buy a property, right? That's how she stays in business. And I'm a real estate broker as well. And when I introduce you as a client to Leah, Leah shares a small portion of her commission with me for introducing you as a customer. But the price that you pay is exactly the same, whether you called her directly or you work through me on an introduction. So number one, I obviously would appreciate all of my people watching this program to make the introduction through me. That's how I'm able to offer great education and great programming, and also to help be a mentor to you, right? So if you're considering buying a particular property and you get that huge list and you're not really sure, what's good, you want a second opinion, that's really what I'm here for, right? And so I can provide that acquisition second opinion, right? Hey, I talked to Leah and she's thinking about this. What do you think, David? Great. I can absolutely help you, give you my experience in the marketplace. And the other is macro investing strategy, right? Hey, Leah's helping me with this 1031 exchange strategy. What do you think, David? Two brains are better than one. So definitely would like to make that introduction of you to Leah as a hassle-free cash flow investing client. Also, Leah has been very gracious because of the purchasing power and the size of the hassle-free cash flow investing brand and our experience working together. She's offered to give hassle-free investing clients 1 month of free property management by self-identifying as a hassle-free cash flow investing client. So I do appreciate Leah's generosity in supporting our clients and getting the best service possible, as well as some amazing perks. And as it works with the leverage of Omnikey having such a large market presence, she has great negotiating strength and great purchasing power because of her strength in working with other builders. And the same extension of hassle-free cash flow investing, the size of our client base and the number of sales that we can create in a marketplace also gives you as a client an extension of purchasing power, because you're not just buying one unit, you're buying one unit in conjunction with hundreds of other investors through hassle-free cash flow investing, and then that gives you some great leverage in the marketplace as well. So I do appreciate everybody's time today on this call, and if you do have questions, you can absolutely contact me directly, David at hasslefreecashflowinvesting.com. There's going to be a link in the description of this video that you can click, and you can fill out a very short survey that will get your information to Leah, and then Leah will follow up with you with the paperwork that you need to get access to that inventory. And if you do have questions, we're here to support you, right? This is why you're on this call, is you're not going into a market alone. You're going into the market with some great mentorship and some great support behind you, right? You could spend months and months and months of driving through the metro trying to find deals like this, or you could just fill out the form and give us a call, and we can give you access to the absolute best inventory that we're aware of. And so hope you see the value proposition of the amazing Dallas-Fort Worth Metro, and also the value proposition of working with hassle-free cash flow investing and Omnikey.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me, David.
We're super excited. Thanks for your time today.